to the October 2nd, 2023 City Council meeting, Half Moon Bay, California. May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brownstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Rohrbeck?
Here.
Councilmember Reddick?
Here.
Mayor Penrose?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. May we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for some. I will be moving item 3C to right after the city manager updates. In addition, I would like to make a motion that we move item 3A to a future meeting so that we can have a full council here present tonight. Vice Mayor Joaquin Jimenez has been unable to attend, and I know that this issue is dear to his heart, and I want him here to be able to contribute to the discussion. In addition, I have other information that I would like to ask for. I need more information before I can make informed remarks and offer sound opinions. I want to know more about the 400 units that are not deed restricted and over whom we do have some jurisdiction, what rents they're paying, how many rooms they are, what rental increases have folks paid in this last year. Also, the stories that we hear about unfair rental practices, how many of these are from single-family landlords over which we have no control. I certainly do not need to bankrupt our city, but this issue is our #1 priority, addressing the need for affordable housing here on the coast. We are a unique city in many ways. We are small. We have a large population of underpaid and impoverished. We have very little city-owned land, but we are a progressive city that has made affordable housing a priority for several years now. I want to make sure that we are looking for ways to make that possible and not simply saying that it's too hard or too dangerous or that others have failed and therefore we will too. Our attitude needs to be one of we can get it done. If you are here to speak on this item, item 3A, since we're not hearing it tonight, I would encourage you to come back for when it is on the next agenda. But if you would like to speak, you're welcome to speak at public forum. I'm going to limit the speaking to 1 minute because we have so many participants. Thank you.
As a reminder, Mayor, this item is approval of the agenda. So what I understood you say is you would, I think your motion was to approve the agenda with item 3C moved to the very next item, as well as to continue. After the reports. Oh, sorry. It'd be moved.
Well, item 3C will be moved to after City Council updates by the city manager.
Got you. Okay, thank you for that clarification. And the motion to approve the agenda would also include continuing item 3A, which is tenant protections plan workshop, to a future meeting when the Vice Mayor is in attendance. Is
yes,
that correct?
That is. Can I have a second?
I second the motion.
And I hear from council. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Brownstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Rohrbeck?
Yes.
Councilmember Reddick?
Yes.
Mayor Penrose?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Can you clarify for the public what just happened?
I think they understand. What? Okay. Okay, so we are going to be moving on to proclamations and presentations. the first of which is the Half Moon Bay Library Annual Report.
Good evening, I'm Julie Smith, the Senior Librarian at the Half Moon Bay Library.
And I'm Annie Malley, I'm the branch manager of the Half Moon Bay Library.
Good evening, Mayor Penrose and members of the City Council. We are pleased to present the library's annual report for fiscal year 2022-2023. Each of our 13 libraries is unique, but also part of a larger family offering transformative experiences and a single mission: to strengthen our community by creating an inclusive sense of place and an environment for learning. First established as a county-free library in 1912, the Library Joint Powers of Authority was formed in 1999. Covering 351 square miles, our service area is comprised of our 11 member cities and the unincorporated areas of the county. San Mateo County Libraries is uniquely positioned to serve broader county areas while at the same time appreciating and understanding each community we serve. The unique diversity and complexity of those we serve inspire and drive our services. Our staff's diversity mirrors the communities we serve, helping us incorporate the wisdom of varied lived experiences to better offer inclusive resources, meaningful services, and engaging events. Our goal is to reflect our communities by providing valuable time, space, and tools they need to feel represented and ready to explore. The majority of staff at Half Moon Bay are bilingual in English and Spanish. This year, we added staff that speak Mandarin, Russian, and Ukrainian. San Mateo County Libraries provides unmatched services to our community, and we are consistently ranked as one of the best libraries in the nation. Feedback from the community influences our work and strengthens our resolve to provide enlightening, exciting, and essential services. San Mateo County Libraries continues to be a high-performing organization. Some standout statistics include our 1.5 million library visits, which is a 56% increase over last year, 2.3 million items circulated, which is 6% more items checked out, and our over 245,000 program and event attendees, which is a huge 126% increase over last year. More people are participating in our programs, visiting our locations, and checking out our eclectic collection of materials. Here are a few highlights. This year, we saw an impressive 4.3 million Wi-Fi sessions, served over 40,000 nourishing meals, and checked out our laptops over 28,000 times. These charts summarize tools for key library services through year end at the Half Moon Bay Library. Like other San Mateo County libraries, the Half Moon Bay Library has seen strong year-over-year gains in library visitors and program attendance, welcoming more community members into our spaces than in fiscal year 2021-2022.
Our incredible community continues to re-energize us, taking our innovation to new heights. This year, we introduced new programs and initiatives that residents in our county met with gratitude and celebration. I'm excited to share a few of our significant achievements featured in this report. This March, we celebrated the first anniversary of our expanded 7-day-a-week service for a total of over 36,000 service hours. Expanded evening and weekend hours also provided more in-person opportunities for discovery and support. Access to the latest technology, programming, school, and job resources meet many interests. Additional hours are critical in expanding equitable access to people who work multiple jobs, have non-traditional schedules, or attend school. During the winter storms, these additional hours were especially critical. The library served as a valuable resource by providing power, internet access, and a comfortable place to work. Our brand new Makermobile hit the road this summer, taking maker activities and tech to new horizons. The Makermobile is a zero-emission, custom-built vehicle that delivers high-impact maker programs beyond our libraries. Having this vehicle means we can take state-of-the-art tech to more people in more places. We are planning on bringing in the Makermobile to the coast side in November. Power Up Afternoons is a program that offers K-12 opportunities to connect and grow with after-school experiences. These discovery and learning-filled afternoons have strengthened our connections with local students and families. Power Up Afternoons has reached thousands of kids. Participants enjoyed 2,242 hours of programming in which creativity and learning were encouraged. 97% of participants said they enjoyed their experiences at the library. The Big Lift Inspiring Summers program, created to prevent the loss in learning that can happen over summer break, continues to impact the lives of young residents and their families. Through the generous support of County Measure K funds, the program served 960 students this year and showed strong positive academic gains in both literacy and math across participating school districts. Locally, students at Hatch Elementary and Pescadero Elementary participated in Big Lift camps. Language is power, and being able to read in your preferred language is invaluable. Through the addition of 29,000 world language items, our communities now have more opportunities to experience linguistic diversity than ever before. Chinese, Hindi, Japanese, Korean, Russian, Tagalog, and Spanish voices are now more represented in our collections. It's part of our commitment to providing equitable access to materials for all, ensuring community members feel seen and supported. This year, we launched Mental Health First Aid Training, an initiative which empowers community members to respond and provide initial help and support to someone experiencing a mental health crisis. The training has given our public service staff additional expertise to help someone in need. Mental Health First Aid Training will be offered at Half Moon Bay in February. Our registration is already full, but please join the wait list and we can work on adding additional dates. In collaboration with several partner agencies, we are now providing direct services to patrons inside our libraries. We're helping to connect residents to unemployment assistance, low-income housing eligibility, food assistance, and other safety net services. In Half Moon Bay, we increased our commitment to develop new ways to support our community through outreach and support services. Coastside Hope case managers visit the library every Wednesday. San Mateo County Street Medicine medical staff visit the library a couple times a month, and the Veterans Administration medical staff provide direct support to patrons in the library. Library staff connected with new patrons by visiting community meal and food distribution sites every month. This Saturday, we invite you to participate in our flu clinic in partnership with County Health and the Stanford Flu Crew. So from 11:30 to 2, Stanford medical students will be providing free flu vaccines as well as COVID-19 vaccines. So we would love to have you join us for that event. The next topic is advancing period equity. Supplies like pads and tampons are as necessary as toilet paper and soap, yet they are not readily available or affordable. We believe that physical need shouldn't keep anyone from using our library, so we decided to take action. By offering free menstrual products in all of our libraries, anyone in need can get these necessary resources and continue using our services. We joyfully welcome the return of in-person volunteers this year. Enthusiastic volunteers, friends of the library, and foundation members have generously devoted thousands of hours of their time. We currently have 19 adult literacy tutor learner pairs, and we have a waiting list of learners. So please reach out if you have an interest in this life-changing volunteer opportunity. Our volunteers and community partners have also allowed our expanded makerspace hours, and so we are able to open the makerspace for 40 hours a week with the partnership with our volunteers. And then with the generous support of the Friends of the Half Moon Bay Library and their Coastside Gives campaign, we received a furniture refresh in the children's garden and patio. Umbrellas and additional furniture for adults and children make our outside spaces an inviting oasis. Our library champions are our most important organizational asset. This year, we increased library positions and celebrated the return of local teen interns to our libraries for the first time since 2019. I'd like to close my presentation with a short video that highlights our library champions and the incredible services they provide. So I want to thank you for allowing us the opportunity to showcase some of our incredible accomplishments and your ongoing support of the Half Moon Bay Library. In addition, I would like to thank the library staff for their tremendous work and creativity, Half Moon Bay Friends of the Library for their dedication and advocacy, city staff and council for your ongoing support, in particular Mayor Penrose and City Manager Chittister for their work on the Library JPA Governing Board and Operations Committee. I also want to introduce you to Mary Obler, our new Deputy Director, who is the person that I report to. And so thank you so much, and we are happy to take any questions that you might have.
Annie, that was a wonderful presentation. Thank you and Julie both. It's the library here in Half Moon Bay is a place of refuge. It's a place of comfort. It's a babysitter. It's a place to go to learn. It's a place to go to play. It's wonderful. And your statistics on the number of increased visits pays homage to that. So the proof is in the pudding. Does council have any questions or? No, okay.
No question, just gratitude to Annie and the whole staff of the library. You're doing a wonderful job. Thank you.
I have one question, and that is about folks who might want to volunteer as tutors. Is there training for them? I know friends of mine have said, oh, gee, I'm bored, I'm retired, I don't know what I want to do. And I say, oh, go to the library and help out. They say they're afraid, so.
Yeah, there definitely is training. Araceli is in charge of the literacy program, and she's an amazing, wonderful, caring staff member. She has a social work master's, so she is used to working with a variety of people. So just come to the library or go online and apply, and then Araceli will be in touch. But we definitely, our list is long of community members who are waiting to be matched up with a tutor, so we would definitely appreciate it.
Great. That's a great thing to do, and I encourage anybody from the community to do it. Thank you, Annie. Thank you, Julie. Okay, we move on to a presentation by Life Moves, Coast House update presentation.
Good evening, Mayor Penrose and esteemed City Council members. My name is Claire Cunningham, she, her pronouns, and I am the new director of the County Human Services Agency. It is a great pleasure to be here tonight. And with me is Jacob Stone, the Director of Shelters and Services with Life Moves. As you may know, the Human Services Agency contracts with Life Moves to provide non-congregate shelter services at Coast House. So our goal tonight is to provide you with an overview and an update on the Coast House Shelter Program. On this slide, you can see the statistics depicting the number of people experiencing homelessness in San Mateo County as a whole over a 12-year period. You can see the data was taken from the one-day count, which you may or may not be familiar with. The one-day count is something that we do every other year unless there's a global pandemic, and then we skip a year. But you can see from the data that the peak of homelessness in San Mateo County over the last 12 years was experienced in 2013. And then in the most recent count in 2022, we had 1,808 individuals experiencing homelessness in San Mateo County as a whole. We have noticed an increase of about 20% or 296 people from the 2019 to the 2022 count. And the reasons for that increase are many, including housing affordability challenges, the COVID-19 pandemic, income inequalities, and other challenges affecting members of our community. Could you go back one slide, please? Thank you. And on this slide, you'll see data from the 2022 point-in-time count depicting how many individuals are experiencing homelessness within each area that's listed. We've highlighted Half Moon Bay with 68 individuals, but you can also see other cities and other areas that have a significant population, such as East Palo Alto, Pacifica, Redwood, and Redwood City. So this slide is a little bit hard to read, but it shows the core service agencies and where they are located across the county. You can see that along the coast, there are 3 different core service agencies, Pacifica Resource Center, Coastside Hope, and Puente de la Costa Sur. So the reason that I'm mentioning the core service agencies is because of their integral role in connecting individuals experiencing homelessness to the services and supports that they need. Somebody who's experiencing homelessness is referred to a core service agency such as Coastside Hope, and they complete the access form for individuals to be connected to shelter. All current Coast House clients and those on the referral list are from the coast. On this slide, you can see the continuum for the coordinated entry system. You can see on the far left side, there's a little image of a person who kind of looks like me, similar hairstyle. And it shows how an unsheltered household accesses the coordinated entry system through a core service agency like Coastside Hope. And by tapping into services such as diversion assistance, connection to homeless prevention resources, or placement at a shelter like Coast House, the household is returned to permanent housing. San Mateo County's homeless crisis response system consists of a continuum of services that are designed to identify individuals and families experiencing homelessness, meet their immediate needs for shelter and service, and ultimately rehouse each household. And we partner with a number of community-based service providers to ensure that these services are provided countywide. So now we'll talk more specifically about Coast House. Prior to fall of 2020, there were no shelters on the coast, but there was a significant need for interim housing. In the 2019 one-day count, for example, there were 230 unsheltered individuals living in Half Moon Bay, Pacifica, and the unincorporated areas of the coast. In the fall of 2020, the county considered several different hotels to purchase in order to create new shelter programs to assist people experiencing homelessness, and Coastside Inn was chosen for purchase as a result of input from the Half Moon Bay community, and also because Coastside Inn is located near other amenities and services that made it an excellent choice for interim housing. In December of 2020, the county used available time-limited federal Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act funding, CARES Act funding, to purchase the Coastside Inn for $7.75 million. And then from December of 2020 to April 21st, 2021, the county began a small pilot shelter program at the site, which was in operation until April of 2021, serving about 10 to 14 program participants. On April 21st, 2021, Life Moves began operating the Coast House shelter, providing intensive housing-focused interim services. And now, having talked about the issue of homelessness more broadly and given a brief history of Coast House, I will turn it over to Jacob Stone from Life Moves to speak in greater detail about the services that are offered at Coast House.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, member of the council. Again, Jacob Stone, Director of Shelters and Services with Life Moves. About Life Moves, since 1987, Life Moves has been providing services, wraparound services, and interim shelter to folks, families, individuals, couples who are experiencing homelessness. As you can see on this map here, we have about 26 locations from Daly City to San Jose, and additional programs that don't have a dedicated location, such as our outreach teams, and some additional support teams that kind of layer services at all of our locations. We have over 1,500 beds at all of our locations, serving just over 7,000 clients annually. 1 in 6 of our shelter beds are occupied by children, and 1 in 10 are occupied by U.S. military veterans. Next slide, please. More specifically on Coast House, we are staffed 24/7, really to ensure the safety and well-being of our clients and the program itself. And really the cornerstone of Life Moves is the case management model and the case managers that we have throughout all of our locations, specifically at Coast House. When someone comes into our program, they are matched with a case manager from day one. They will perform an assessment with the case manager that will really sort of highlight the barriers that are facing that household, which will then lead to a case plan with specialized goals and action steps, a number of action steps that will kind of lead and be the roadmap, if you will, for that household through the duration of their program stay. The case managers meet with the households each week in a formal setting with a number of touch points throughout the week, really to kind of see how things are going, doing quick updates and check-ins, things like that. Our case managers play a big role in linking our clients to the needed services that they aren't connected to, that they're eligible for. And so that's a big key to success, is linking folks to the needed services throughout the county. There's a dedicated housing specialist at Coast House. This person works in parallel with the case manager and the household, kind of inward-facing, outward-facing. They're working to build relationships with landlords in the community to really gain those housing listings that we can use for our clients. We have on-site community meetings and and gatherings throughout the year. We really want to promote a strong and positive community within the program for both clients and staff. And I think one key one key to our success that we've seen is just building the collaborative partnerships with the organizations, both on the coast side and on the bay side. If someone is, if a client of ours is working with a social worker in a different organization, we really want to leverage that partnership and relationship to really increase the success for our clients. Next slide, please. Here we'll see, the next two slides, we'll see some metrics on Coast House. Starting on the top left, since April of 2021, we've served 223 total clients. And so moving to the right there, of the folks who've exited so far, the median length of stay of those folks is just under 5 months, so at 139 days. Of the clients who've exited our program, 58% have secured permanent housing, which is what we think a really, really good number, although we are striving to continuing to improve that number. So the majority of our folks are securing housing, which is great. Of the folks who've secured housing, permanent housing, 80% have done so with a housing subsidy or a voucher. The San Mateo County has done a great job of securing funding for housing subsidies and vouchers for folks who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford their own place. And so that's been a great trend and great success that we've seen so far. And we have 73 current clients as of last Friday. That number continues to evolve, of course, as folks exit to housing and new clients are coming into our program. And this next slide, I believe is our last slide, showing some more demographic information, data from our program. So the left chart there is an annual income at entry. So it's a snapshot of all of our clients who come in, and at day one, what is their income. One thing I want to highlight, if we look at the bottom bar, so just under half of our clients come in with no income. That's one thing that the case manager really works hard on, is really linking folks to increase their income. And so whether that be by employment, if someone is working, how do we get them a higher paying job or another job? And also folks who may be eligible for benefits, sort of for cash aid or disability or things like that, who are already connected, we do that immediately. So that's one. Moving to the right, looking at the age data. One thing I want to highlight in this data chart is when we combine the bottom two boxes, so looking at the folks who are over the age of 50, that's nearly half of our clients that we serve. And so there's a number of factors that really, that those folks are, there's barriers for many reasons, but a lot of those folks are on fixed income, and it's really challenging to look for, market rate housing if there's not a subsidy that they're matched to. Many of our folks that we've seen have had to stay a little bit longer because of that fact, and so that's one thing we're seeing. And the last chart to the right is looking at the gender makeup of our clients. The majority of our clients are male. That's sort of the aligns with a lot of our programming that we, folks who are in our shelters across the board. Many of folks are male, so 60% male, 39% female, 1% transgender. I think that's our last slide, so we will take any questions.
Thank you. That was a wonderful presentation. Our experience here in Half Moon Bay has been nothing but positive. I know when we first talked about the idea of Coast House, we had a lot of community objection to it, and council and staff and Life Moves and the county all made it happen. And I haven't heard one word of unhappiness about it. So I'm just thrilled. Council, do we have questions?
As I understand, wraparound services includes 3 meals a day?
Correct. Among other things, mental health services, things
and
like
mental health, right.
Yep.
Good thing to add to the slide, by the way, because I don't think I saw that, about 3 meals a day. Because to the mayor's point, there was a lot of opposition, and people worried about criminal activity, people being accosted, walking around that area. I don't think there's been any of that in over 2 years. It was launched on my birthday, so it's one of the best birthday gifts I've ever had. And really, you know, what we emphasized was that if you give people a place to stay that's safe, and they can lock their room and not worry about their things being taken, so they can have a full night's sleep, 3 meals a day, mental health services, it returns them to feeling human again. You know, living in a homeless encampment and hardly getting any sleep and pretty much worried about everything and stress levels. And I think Coast House proves that, you know, beyond my expectations. So that's what Life Moves and, you know, this whole project has done for so many folks. So I applaud it. And if anyone, folks listening in tonight, are from Millbrae, I would say take note that we understand the opposition, we understand the initial concerns, but consider all the benefits that outweigh those concerns, and Coast House is certainly proof of that. So thanks for coming tonight and giving us a report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Reddick.
So for those who exited Coast House but didn't go into permanent housing, are they returning to areas on the coast side, resuming their homeless lives in different locations on the coast side, or migrating some other places? What is your experience today?
So we do see folks who kind of reunify with family or friends that may not be permanent, and so that isn't in the permanent housing metric. But yeah, we've seen folks do that. There have been folks be unsuccessful, and due to the safety and well-being of the clients and the staff and the program itself, have returned to homelessness, and so we have seen folks return on the wait list, which is great. Mm-hmm. So we can work with them, the second time, and so there's a number of reasons why folks exit. Fortunately, most return to permanent housing, which is great.
And I'm guessing that even if they return to their homeless situation, that they continue to receive attention and case management from the county and the network of organizations who work with the homeless. They're not just forgotten, that they continue to.
Our outreach team works on the coast side, and so that's one resource that they're connected to if they choose to, but also the core service agencies that Claire mentioned. They're able to access those services and get help if they need to.
And then do you find there's a synergy between Coast House residents and the Workforce Development Center of Abundant Grace? Like, do some of those folks get work through? Yeah,
Eric DeBode is a great partner with Life Moves, and many of our clients have gone through Abundant Grace, and that's a great resource that we're fortunate to have in the community.
Great. Thanks so much. I'm so glad that that you're here and doing what you do, and it's been wonderful to watch this experiment in the community. And I think, you know, the initial sort of blowback that we experienced, again, like the mayor, you know, I hear very positive things. So I think that's a testament to how you're managing. Nothing's perfect. We don't expect that, but I think it's been by and large a positive experience. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Rohrbach.
I live down the block from Coast House, and I was certainly aware of the community opposition when the county started developing Coast House. I've seen no indication that there are any adverse effects. I haven't heard any real problems with the residents bothering people. I just want to emphasize that my personal experience has been very positive. Personally, we had, my wife and I had a person live with us for a while who was homeless. She moved to Coast House. She lived there almost a year. She took advantage of a lot of the services that Life Moves offered, and she's now living in permanent supportive housing in Pacifica. So that's one personal example I know of the good that Coast House has created. So thank you very much for your service.
I just have one short question, and you probably can't give me an answer. But I've always been curious about how do you determine how accurate the one-day biannual count is?
Well, the one-day count is accurate for one day, but that's just our process, and I'm actually very glad for your question because I wanted to mention that the next one-day count will be occurring in January. So if you know any early birds who like to walk bright and early, then we would love to have more volunteers to support the one-day count. But then in terms of monitoring the changes in the homeless populations, we do gather data through the work of the homeless outreach teams. And so we do have a more accurate picture, particularly for homeless encampments and when they move, based on the data that is gathered and input into our system by the homeless outreach teams and other providers who work with the unsheltered.
Great, thank you very much, and thank you for a wonderful presentation. You do great work. Okay, we move on to Mayor's announcement of community activities. I'm going to skip that tonight. Do we have a report out from recent closed session meetings from our attorney, Catherine Enberg?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. The Council did meet in closed session prior to this regular meeting to discuss two items of pending litigation, one case entitled City of Half Moon Bay versus Thomas Gearing, and a second case entitled Gearing versus City of Half Moon Bay. I do have a status update in that second matter. This matter, Gearing versus City of Half Moon Bay, did go up to the U.S. Supreme Court on a procedural ground. The plaintiff in this case, Mr. Gearing, lost a motion that the city made to abstain from ruling on his constitutional claims. And he lost in the Ninth Circuit and did actually ask the U.S. Supreme Court to review the case on a petition for cert. And yesterday, the U.S. Supreme Court issued a ruling denying that petition for cert. So that is just a status update on that matter. It is currently on pause. Thank you.
Thank you. We now move on to city manager updates to council.
Madam Mayor, actually, based on your motion earlier being approved, we'll take item 3C at this time. Is that correct? Oh, it's after CM updates, of course.
Yeah, my motion was to have it after.
I apologize.
It's all right.
I had it backwards. Okay, we have, I believe, 3 updates. We'll start with our Assistant City Manager, John Dowdy.
Hello, thank you, John Dowdy. Just a reminder that tomorrow around at 11:20, your phones, your TVs, your radios will be going a little crazy. This will be the first time in many, many, many years there will be a nationwide attempt to do a public alert warning. So we've published that in e-news, but want to just make sure we remind you again, don't freak out. So you'll see that on anything that you're dealing with in terms of television, radio, but you'll also get on your phone. So that's around 11:20 is when that's supposed to work. So just keep that in mind and don't stress out. It's intended. It's a test, only a test. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Next up, we'll hear from Karen Decker, who will give an update on an important project in our downtown.
Hey, thank you, Matthew. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, and Community. I'm Karen Decker. I'm the Economic and Community Vitality Manager here at the City of Half Moon Bay. And I have an exciting report out from Discovery Week. That's a week that we're calling the kickoff of the Downtown Streetscape Master Plan that is looking at all things vibrant and accessible and welcoming about our downtown corridor. The tool design team, the hired consultant for phase 1, descended on Half Moon Bay for a full 4 days and underwent a series of public meetings and engagements. The purpose of this week was, one, to just spread word about the project that's leading up to a master plan, a master design of downtown. Another goal was to solicit really meaningful input and exchange of ideas across a wide swath of our community. And then we wanted to take what we were hearing and be able to establish some key themes based on the information that was generated throughout that, what we're calling the Discovery Week. Next slide. As a result of that effort, we had some successful outreach, and I just want to acknowledge my colleagues, Julissa and Irma. They really hit the pavement with some old-fashioned outreach, and they distributed 150 flyers. Colleen and her team helped with 15 social media posts that week. And staff sent out 80 personalized emails to individuals and groups just to spread the word, just to give a warm invitation. And it paid off. We were graciously hosted by the Half Moon Bay Library. We were in one of the community rooms 3 of those days, going into 4. And we all know the robust programming at the library. So that was a big ask to be there for so long. And Julie and Annie made it happen, as they always do. And I know that the city is just one customer. So if they do it this often for us, I can imagine what their scheduling calendar looks like. So thank you so much to the library, and thank you so much to the IDES Hall for hosting our public meeting. But with that said, we had over 150 people come through, and I'm not even counting people who just poked their head in and had the wrong meeting room. I mean, like, writing on post, it's meaningfully engaging. You can see that out of the number, there was a series of focus groups. I want to draw your attention. I've changed the color on purpose on orange to community stakeholder group. I just wanted to describe what that is for a second. So this is a group of 14 individuals, and they have agreed to kind of check in throughout the duration of this phase 1 project. We anticipate convening them about 3 or 4 times, really want to be respectful of people's times, and they represent a really broad cross-section of our community. We have beautification committee, we have age-friendly initiative advocates, we have business owners, youth-serving professionals, we have historians, we have Latinx-serving orgs, Rotary, artists, because a lot of those individuals represent multiple hats. The Half Moon Bay History Association. So this group convened at the library, and we got a 92% turnout rate. So really, really great attendance we were very pleased with. And this group was not only important because of the diversity of perspective that they bring, but they also agreed to help promote the project, help invite their neighbors, explain what it's about. And an example of something that they could provide guidance on in the short term is, you'll all recall at priority setting when we heard from the Downtown Association that a lot of businesses are crying out for a better sign on 92. Well, it's more complicated than it sounds, but we were trying to identify low-hanging fruit. And the chamber generously offered an existing sign that is just so much more easy to work within than trying to create something new and part of larger wayfinding. We just would like a quick, immediate win to help right away, and then we could look at a broader plan. Well, there is a preliminary design of such a sign, and this community stakeholder group was able to weigh in and provide feedback to both the Chamber and the Downtown Association. We're kind of running with this project. And as a result, we were able to take advantage of this captive audience that got to weigh in on wording and colors, and really excited to see that come forward soon. We also held 2 convenings that were entirely in Spanish. We conducted this at an a la staff meeting. City staff also did a pop-up at Moonridge and had some meaningful engagements. We also tried to thread the needle between engaging with an audience of stakeholders and residents who've been in the community for a long time. We have a lot of legacy families on the coast, but we also have newcomers to the coast who aren't already plugged into civic engagement opportunities. And so with intention, we really tried to attract both audiences, and I believe we were successful. And then I think the other ones pretty much speak for themselves. When I say focus groups, they were extensive. We had 2 focus groups happening simultaneously pretty much all day, every day, except the lunch hour. And the participation was fantastic. So in that teal box, you'll see just some of the sectors that represented those focus group discussions. Next slide, please. So in the discovery workshop itself, this is a very broad summary. It was really hard to just home in on a few examples, but in general, this is what we heard. There's absolute love and adoration for this town. This was a through line in all conversations, and a lot of that had to do with our town being unique, it having small town character, having good bones, and let's not see that go away. Let's not overly design anything. Also heard a lot about how important history and culture is, that delicate balance of looking at, say, increasing sidewalk space, but then juxtaposing that against parking needs. Lots and lots of opinions about parking, as I'm sure everyone could imagine. Also heard a lot of feedback about wanting to see more spaces for youth to gather and have a good time and experience downtown. Develop a cohesive wayfinding strategy. We heard a lot about the arrival experience as people come off of 92. Many visitors don't realize we have a historic downtown. That's not good for our economy. We also heard that there's a feeling of underwhelm as people get off of 92 onto Main Street. And then just knowing where to shop, where to eat at a local restaurant, how to support our local businesses, that we could benefit from better signage. Also incorporating more color, more sustainability aspects, more greenery in the landscape, expanding amenities like bike racks. Everybody would like, not everybody, but we heard a lot about it's nice to be able to access a bathroom when you need one. It's nice to be able to have a place to sit, being mindful about how frequent that is and what that looks and feels like. And that's really just the tip of the iceberg. It's just a brief CM update, but I wanted to provide kind of a snapshot of some of the themes that we truly heard consistently that stood out. And I also wanted to let everybody know, next slide please, that kind of caps Discovery Week. That is, what is this project? What is it about? We want to hear how you experience downtown. What do you like? What do you not like? The next phase of this project is moving into more design. So the tool team is going to come back at the end of October, strategically after Pumpkin Fest, and they're going to start drawing, but they're not going to do that behind closed doors out of their firm in Oakland. They want to be immersed in the community, and they want to start drawing and designing here. So they're going to start at the Half Moon Bay Library, and we're calling that Open Studio, where anybody is welcome to come check it out, come watch their process, talk to them, see what they're starting to draw. And then as they're producing that in real time, they're going to take that to a public meeting. That's going to be at the IDS Hall. It's on October 24th. It starts at 6 o'clock. There will be food, and we're going to hit the pavement again and do a lot of outreach on that public meeting in particular. So I really hope to see everybody come out, and I welcome any questions you have, and thank you.
Thank you, Karen. That's wonderful. It's very, very exciting. Yeah, I can't believe we're doing it. It's great. Council, any questions, comments? Okay, thank you for the presentation. Looking forward to the next phase.
Thank you, Karen. And we have one final update from Jill Ickes talking about the 555 Kelly housing project.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, and community members. This is just a very brief update regarding 555 Kelly, the city's project just right over to the south of us. I wanted to acknowledge that back in June, this project went before the Architectural Advisory Committee. It was an excellent session, and following that, the developer team of Mercy Housing and ALAS had the third of 3 community engagement sessions for this project as part of their early outreach phase, and they did that last Wednesday. So this is moving along through the process. You don't get to see it at every meeting, but we want you to know that the applicant is active, staff is actively working on this. And we are also aware that there's some community concern about development standards and parking regarding this project. This is not lost on us at all. We've been real clear in all our materials about how those are being reviewed. This project, in fact, qualifies for a density bonus, and there are a number of standards that can be reconsidered relative to that density bonus. Despite that, aesthetics are being studied very carefully with photo simulations and view sheds being looked at. And parking demand is also going to be studied by an outside consultant. And we're looking for additional overflow parking areas for this use. So anything that you've heard about, read about, those topics around this project, your staff knows about them, your applicant team knows about them, and we're happy to keep working on it and give you updates. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Jill. We now move on to item 3C.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is to address an issue of Zoom bombing that has been occurring across the state over the past couple weeks, and to get direction and guidance from the City Council as to how you would like us to handle it if that happens here. For context, there is a organized group that has been attending City Council and other county and agency meetings via Zoom, and then utilizing public forum to spew messages of hate and anti-Semitism. It has happened to a few of our neighbors within San Mateo County, including City of San Mateo last night. And so we wanted to present some options to the City Council as to different ways that we could handle if that ever happened here in Half Moon Bay. So some things that we can do just in general, we could bring back a resolution condemning hate and anti-Semitism, a resolution encouraging civility during public comment. We can open and close public comment with a statement of values. There are a number of different options there. And then if we did receive commenters that were utilizing profanity or hateful speech, there are another number of options that we can do, including the council members could turn their back to show opposition. We could move the public forum to the end of meeting agendas in hopes that those speakers would not hang around to make those comments. We could call a recess. And ending the option to provide virtual public comment, which my next slide shows what some of our neighboring cities have done. These are the cities that most of them have been hit with the Zoom bombing over the last week and a half. There are a few that are issuing warnings and then removing members from Zoom who haven't complied. And then a number of cities have temporarily suspended any comment via Zoom. The next slide shows a message that the cities that are issuing warnings, this is what they're reading before public forum. And then if a speaker goes off topic or is providing hateful comments, they are given one additional warning, and if they don't stop, then they are removed from the Zoom meeting. So we wanted to address this tonight, as this is our first meeting since the Zoom bombing has started. I am pleased to say that based on the attendees on our Zoom meeting, I don't think that we are going to have to deal with this tonight, but it's unknown how long this will occur or how many more people they may organize amongst themselves, so it's good to have these protocols in place regardless. So at this time, I would look for any comments, questions, or direction from the council.
Council.
Sorry.
Councilmember Rohrbach.
When I was mayor, I changed the order of the agenda so that public comment would be the very first item. And the idea then was that we would have more people come and make the comments. This was when it was in person. I firmly believe that we should continue having public comment at the beginning of the meeting. If you listen to some of these hateful speeches that, for example, I heard the Pacifica City Council meeting, it is disgusting. and we can't abide it. So I think the idea that we have an implicit warning at the beginning of public comment, and then as soon as we begin to hear this hateful speech, the presider, presumably the mayor, would then issue a warning that would immediately take effect. If the speaker continued, we would cut off his or her microphone immediately. I think that'll probably do the trick. I'm welcome to other suggestions. We just can't abide this kind of anti-democratic, hateful talk. On the other hand, there is a First Amendment, so we have to balance that free speech with the ability to stop hateful, off-topic speech. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Brownstone.
Thank you, Councilmember Rohrabaugh. I completely agree with everything you said. I donate to the American Civil Liberties Union. I'm a supporter of the First Amendment. However, the First Amendment does not give folks the right to incite. And I think we're all of us can recognize hateful speech when it starts. And I completely agree with you that I trust that our city clerk, city manager can recognize it as well and push that cutoff button as quickly as possible. I don't want to deprive other people of the time, they spend here and have to take recesses, etc. We can just cut it off in the moment and act using our reasonable, logic in the moment. And if someone wants to sue us for infringing on their First Amendment rights, good luck to them. But I feel like we can stand strong, that we recognize it and can stop it in the moment, as you suggested. So thank you.
Councilmember Ruddock.
Yes, I also support the warning at the beginning of the meeting and a warning as hate speech emerges. Having the city clerk, giving her the authority to, as it's recognized by the mayor or independently by yourself, to cut off the speaker, following a warning. And I agree that, we just can't abide it. And again, I'm in favor of protecting free speech. I'm not in favor of censorship, but if you're not addressing the issue at hand, we can manage a meeting, and we should, and not tolerate any sort of obscene or hate speech. It's just not acceptable, period.
Great, thank you. I agree with each of the council members' suggestions. Keeping public forum where it is, offering a warning at the beginning of public forum that we will not tolerate any kind of hate speech or racist speech, and then having the ability to cut off a speaker immediately and see how that goes. And if we do get a spate of hate speech, we may want to change the way we approach it. But for right now, I think that's a safe and a fair way to go about it. I certainly don't want to be limiting our public comment for folks who are using that vehicle to express their opinions about things on the city council agenda or things about the city that they care about.
Right. I'd like to add that I think it's important for the mayor to, as it happens, to call it out. So not just cut it off, but to actually say, this is what I'm hearing, this is hate speech, this is an obscenity, but call attention to what it actually is before actually cutting off, because then you're linking the behavior to your policy, kind of a thing.
I think that makes great sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing I'd like to see us do is pass a resolution and have it come back at the next council meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Understood. Thank you.
Do we need to ask for public comment on this item?
Yes.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, we will move on. We now are opening public forum. We are limiting people to 1 minute tonight because of the number of folks who are on Zoom and the number of folks who are here in the room. So first we have Dave Schur, followed by Jasmine Bond.
Good evening. I'm not here to address the tenant protection ordinance. May I have the typical 3 minutes?
It's the number of total speakers. It's not the idea that we're limiting people on one topic.
Then there's no point in me trying to present this information. I'll come back at a later date when the typical time is allowed.
Thank you.
I will only state that it is regarding 555 Kelly, and the city needs to carefully and openly consider the ongoing operational costs of that project, which have not been made public and may not even be known now, especially since recent information from the county indicates that this project will not qualify for Measure K funding, which punches a very large hole in its budget. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Jasmine, followed by Chrislyn.
Hello, my name is Jasmine, and I am a media production intern at Pacific Coast Television. I'm here to talk to you all about an event called PCT Honors. PCT Honors is set for October 26th at the Pacific Coast TV studio. This amazing program identifies and thanks wonderful local people for their service to our community while serving as a fundraiser for our local TV station. PCT's nonprofit public TV channel is the oldest such station in the United States and has provided vital support to our coastside community for over 45 years. Thanks to PCT sponsors and friends like you, last year we actually purchased our studio on Crespi Drive in Pacifica. This year, with your help, we aim to build even more capacity to better serve our coastside. The 2023 honorees include Belinda Hernandez Arriaga with ALAS, Anna Eshoo, the Congresswoman for the 16th District of California, Mary Ann Neihart and Mary Ellen Carroll, representing nursing first responders of the San Francisco Peninsula, the inaugural Jane Northup Journalism Award to Jean Bartlett. For those of you who don't know, Jane Northup is part of Coastside News Group. Each of the above honorees...
Thank you, Jasmine.
Thank you.
Chrislyn, followed by Bill Hevlin.
Thank you, Crystalline with the Coastside Chamber. I know this is going to be a little bit early because we still have to have Pumpkin Fest, but I'm talking Nights of Lights. So Nights of Lights is going to kick off with the tree lighting, and we're going for our biggest tree ever at 17 feet. Thank you, Causalino Farms. And this year we're going to have the second annual In Memoriam. So if you know of any coastsiders that have been lost to us over the course of the year, please visit our website, coastside365.com, and under the resident section, there's a link to submit to us the in memoriam so we can light a light in their honor. And that'll be the day after Thanksgiving. Lastly, I just wanted to give a woohoo to consent item 1E. They are fantastic. I'm very excited and hope that we can work with them, the architects, to help us with the OCC. Thank you.
Thank you, Chrislyn. Bill.
My name is Bill Hevlin, and I am one of the principal lay leaders of the Unitarian Universalist Coastside community centered here in Half Moon Bay. And today I'm also a representative of Coastside Faith in Action. And I'm here to support the leadership of ALIS, especially with regard to item 3A, the Tenants Protections Plan Workshop. And I want to offer this personal perspective. This quote from the Renters' Bill of Rights by the California Apartment Association. A resident has the right to be treated fairly and equitably when applying for, living in, and vacating a rental residence. So as you consider and ponder specific ordinance language, much of it is simply about treating renters fairly. Thank you for your attention.
Next, we have Rocio Avila and Carolina Carbajal.
Buenas noches, miembros del concilio y personas presentes. Quiero compartir algunas cosas que me han comentado sobre lo que hemos pasado en las altas rentas aquí en Half Moon Bay. Las familias de bajos ingresos tenemos que compartir con una o dos familias para poder pagar el alto costo de la renta, porque a veces un apartamento de 2 recámaras se tiene que pagar $3,100 o hasta $3,800. En algunas ocasiones los dueños de las viviendas solo te dicen que este mes tienes que pagar $300 o más dinero. Y si quieres seguir viviendo aquí y si no te puedes ir. ¿Qué hacemos en estos momentos? Lo pagamos porque no queremos que nos saquen del lugar o porque no queremos problemas con el dueño. En otras ocasiones los dueños de las viviendas no hacen remodelaciones o no componen las cosas que se han descompuesto en la vivienda y algunas veces cuando lo hacen quieren cobrar el dinero que gastaron en reparar el desperfecto a los arrendatarios. Es por la cual le pido que hoy haya un control de renta de 5 a 10%, porque hay renteros que aumentan hasta el 25%. Esto es un atropello. Para poder pagar una renta de $3,100, tendremos que tener un ingreso de $120,000 por familia al año. Y muchas familias solo ganamos de $35,000 a $50,000 por año. Esto es menos de la mitad. Las personas que estamos aquí presentes pedimos un control de renta y viviendas asequibles.
Good evening to all. I just want to share a few things that they've commented to me in regards and some of the high rents here in the Half Moon Bay area. So families with low income or low resources, we have to share with a couple of other families to be able to pay for the high cost of rent. Because sometimes an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, you'd have to pay $3,100 or even up to $3,800 or even more. On certain occasions, the owners of these places only tell you in a month in advance that you have to pay an extra $300 or more. And if you want to continue living here, then otherwise go find another place to live. So what do we do in these moments? We have to pay it because we don't want to go and leave this area because we don't want any problems with the owners and that sort of thing. So we're thinking that if we have to go live somewhere else, it wouldn't be that easy to find housing. Sorry. So many of the families have a couple of jobs just to be able to cover the costs of rent, and on other occasions the owners they don't fix things or remodel things, and they don't and so things continue and we continue to live with things that are broken. And there's some times when they actually want to charge us money that they actually spent to make the repairs. So this is the reason why we're asking that there be a rent control of 5%, because renters, the owners continue to raise the rents up to 25%. And
this is a train wreck. So in order for us to pay the rent of $3,100 to $3,800, we would have to make
$120,000 per family a year. And so many families, we only make $35,000 or up to $50,000 a year. So that's less than half. So people all here present are asking for a rent control for housing, for affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolina. Followed by Zenon Barron.
Muy buenas noches a todos y gracias por su tiempo. Como ustedes saben, la comunidad está buscando un control de renta. Sé que muchos de ustedes ya están cansados de escuchar esto. Y sé que a ustedes también los presiona la comunidad. Sobre todo la comunidad más pudiente. Lo que tienen dinero. Porque relativamente, si ustedes nos ayudan a nosotros con el control de la renta, ellos se ven afectados en su bolsillo. Ellos se ven afectados en su bolsillo. Ellos se ven afectados en su bolsillo. Pero lastimosamente, yo sé que vivimos en tiempos más modernos. Y ese tiempo tiene que ser un tiempo justo. Entonces, si estamos hablando de justicia, si nuestro trabajo y nuestro esfuerzo debe de ser recompensado de la misma forma en base al esfuerzo que ponemos. Y como les digo, nunca estamos pidiendo nada gratis. Sé que los albergues es algo muy bonito y qué bueno que ayuda a la comunidad. Pero nosotros no podemos darnos el lujo de irnos a la calle con nuestros hijos para poder adquirir un lugar en el albergue. Nuestra obligación es trabajar. No importa si son las 24 horas desde el día. Lastimosamente estamos viviendo en tiempos antiguos. Somos los esclavos de este país que estamos dando no solo nuestro esfuerzo, estamos dando también a nuestros niños, nuestra juventud, para este país. Nuestras fugas de cerebros de nuestros países. Esto es de que personas que podrían estar modernizando otros países, estamos modernizando este.
We need to wrap it up.
Quiere decir que somos algo muy esencial. Así que, por favor, un control de la renta pronto.
Thank you,
Muchas
Carolina. Okay. Zoom now for public comment.
Zenon Barron also had a
I
speaker
apologize,
card.
Zenon.
Good evening. My name is Zenon Barron, and I'm a Spanish teacher. And I live in this beautiful town for the last 2 years. And the reason I'm here tonight is because I know many people from this beautiful community. They are farmer workers. And the same problem, rent are increased every month, every year. And it's impossible to afford those houses to live with those families. So please help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Zenon. And now we'll move to Zoom.
Joanne Rokoski, you have 1 minute.
Hi, my name is Joanne Rokoski. I'm a member of COSIDE Faith in Action and the Unitarian Universalist COSIDE community. I do realize that item 3A is deferred, but I do have a few comments. I urge the city council members to think broadly about the protections needed for all Half Moon Bay tenants, be they primary tenants or lease signer or subtenants, and for all types of housing arrangements. I am in support of the comments you are hearing from the leaders of ALAS about the challenges and needs facing individuals and families in Half Moon Bay. And speaking personally, I particularly urge you to consider carefully what protections you can provide for subtenants, because this is so common for very low income individuals and families here. Keeping people in their rental homes from day one of occupancy is essential to preventing an increase in homelessness on the coast side or forcing people to move out of the area.
Thank you, Joanne.
Together. Thank you.
Eric DeBode.
Hi, this is actually Alice Linsmeyer. I'm sorry, I'm on Eric's computer. He's right here. So thank you so much, all of you. And I just want to really underline, I've heard over and over now for years about how people have had landlords taking advantage to people who are struggling and are feeling vulnerable and raising the rent regularly and too often, way beyond what your ordinances are allowing. So I support what the different members of the communities have talked about having rent control and all protections so that they aren't always at the mercy of others. And we just need to think about the fact that I know of people sleeping head to toe, parents with kids in the bed, 4 of them in the bed, 1 on the floor, with the idea that this is the future for all of us. It's for the kids. They're going to school, they're our colleagues, and it's also for the economic benefit of our community. So please put in place every possible control so that they can stay in their houses and being able to afford it. We need them. They're important members of our community, and it's a justice issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice.
I have no further speakers, Mayor.
Okay, that ends public forum. We now move on to the consent calendar. Oh, excuse me. Councilmember Brownstone would like to make a comment.
Yeah, just for the record, I think it was Carolina was concerned that we might be tired of hearing about these things or we feel pressure. You know, for one, I'm not tired of hearing. I don't feel pressure. My family and I grew up in a rent-controlled apartment in the Bronx, New York. It was a beautiful old house. The landlord painted apartments regularly. It was all fine. So keep talking, welcome to hear it, no pressure here. So thanks.
Thank you. We now move on to consent calendar. Does anyone on council wish to pull anything? No? May I have a motion then?
Yes, I move that we adopt the consent calendar. Items 1A, waive reading of resolutions and ordinances. Item 1B, approval of minutes. Item 1C, approve the city's response to the July 10th, 2023 grand jury report titled Bike Safety in San Mateo County, Making Bicycling Safer in the County. Item 1D, deny claim of Christine Zali in the estate of Zilu and Zan, care of Bowles and Verna. Item 1E, professional services, approve professional services agreement with William Duff Architects for delivery of architectural professional services for the Opportunity Center of the coast-side.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Motion passes. We move on to ordinances and public hearings, and there are none. Resolutions and staff reports.
So with item 3A carried forward to a future meeting and 3C already taken care of, the only item tonight will be 3B. And we have our Public Works Director, Maz Bozerginia, here to present this item.
Thank you. Thank you, Matthew. Maz Bozerginia, Public Works Director. Happy to be here tonight. Thank you, Council. Tonight I'm going to be talking a little bit about our emergency Seymour outfall repair. So the recommendation is before you to adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute this contract for these emergency services with Cazadoro Construction, Inc. of San Francisco in an amount of $223,215 with an additional contingency amount of $22,000 or 10% of that amount for a total emergency repair fund of $245,215. A little bit of overview. So I'll go a little bit through the background and then the recent 22-23 winter storm damage, as well as the emergency repair scope that we have tonight, and then talk a little bit about next steps. I included this image of the Arleta Park amended map, the tentative map, because it's interesting. You can kind of see, it's hard to see, but the map shows where the old Seymour watercourse used to go, and it's not going that way anymore. So a little bit of background. The Seymour watercourse as we know it today is a human-made stormwater conveyance channel. It serves the residential neighborhood as well as many of the open spaces and has a large tributary area that goes all the way to the foothills on the east side of the city limits. This was created specifically to reroute the stormwater around the landfill at the time, which is now closed and owned and maintained by the county of San Mateo. This has been an ongoing issue. There's been erosion happening at the end of Seymour watercourse for a number of years, and it's particularly vulnerable during high volume rain events. A little bit of the background. In 2017, after the new pedestrian bridge was constructed over that portion of the coastal trail, there was evidence of additional erosion on the banks, and so at that time there was an emergency repair put together that included a number of rock check dams to slow stormwater as it's flowing through the watercourse itself, dissipating some of that energy and reducing the potential for erosion. That work also included some rock armoring below the head cut. So the head cut is where the higher elevation of the channel is flowing, and then at some point there's a major drop in elevation, and that's what's considered the head cut. And so where that water would fall underneath also needed some energy dissipation. As water goes through these courses, the faster it's moving, the more volume it has, the more impact it has on erosion and on the soil and sediment. And then these repairs were considered temporary at that time. However, they remained effective through visual observation and monitoring until these last major storms in 22-23. And with the storms, there was quite a bit of precipitation. There's been various levels of storm size as far as the amount of volume and the severity of the storms. Folks may be more aware of what a 25-year or 100-year storm means today. Essentially, it's the probability of a rain event of certain magnitudes happening in any given year. Obviously, with what we all witnessed in 22-23, there are bigger concerns with regards to what a 25-year storm should look like, should be modeled like, and those are valid concerns and something that the industry is looking at and reviewing as we get more information and data. But it was no small amount of stormwater, and we saw quite a bit of erosion. You can see here in the first large picture on the left is a large section that was lost on the bluff as part of the rain events. And then on the two pictures on the right, you can see where we've had some head cuts and channel incision that have occurred as part due to the increased stormwater runoff. So the scope for tonight is the emergency repair scope that we're asking for approval tonight includes channel stabilization, which also includes rock slope protection, regrading of a portion of the southern bank just below the head cut, as well as a head cut stabilization. A lot of the materials that are being used, this is a project that we are doing under emergency conditions. We have been working with our permitting agencies to obtain emergency permits. The coastal development permit, emergency coastal development permit was just issued as of today. That's how quickly things have been progressing since the hiring of the consultant, NCE. We are working diligently to get this, and actually we're scheduled to start construction tomorrow, assuming that everything tonight goes forward as planned. And the necessity of this, the timeline on this is because we're trying to achieve the repairs prior to the next rainy season, which generally coincides with the middle of October, but we've had some smaller rain events and we never really know when it's going to happen. But obviously it's important to address some of these erosion areas so that when we get the next larger rain event, it doesn't snowball as far as the amount of damage that it does. Once you have this erosion, it really can increase exponentially, and that's what we're trying to stop. And as part of that, due to those timing constraints, we have waived the bidding requirements, which are pursuant to Public Contract Code 22050, because we need to take those immediate actions necessary to complete those repairs. So going through a 2-week bid solicitation process, there is some risk with regards to if the rain event happens, are we going to be able to finish the repairs ahead of that? With that, this problem has been a bigger problem. We are looking at the tail end of the Seymour watercourse, but the watershed itself is a much bigger system, as I mentioned earlier. It does go through quite a bit of other land uses and open spaces, and it's going to require any permanent solution is going to require an interagency approach. So some of the next steps that we're going to take, and we have taken up to this date, have been coordination of interagency meetings with landowners and key stakeholders, looking at alternatives analysis to address our permanent improvements, including upstream retention, as well as some engineering solutions to certain areas of the channel itself. But really, we need to determine that permanent solution and identify a funding source. It's not a inexpensive project, considering the amount of tributary area that it's serving. And that's something that we've been working on quite a bit. I'm actually happy to share that this has been something that's been happening since 2017. It's unfortunate that we haven't been able to identify permanent solutions, but we've been working with a number of agencies, the County of San Mateo, the Resource Conservation District, Peninsula Open Space Trust, as well as the Coastside Land Trust, to look at identifying areas within the watershed that we can utilize for stormwater retention. I think that's going to be one of the main keys to achieving what we're trying to do and reduce the speed of erosion that's happening at the end of Seymour. And so the big picture is going to be a larger approach. It's not just armoring a section of channel or putting rocks in one location. It's looking at the overall watershed, looking at where it makes sense to have detention basins, looking at areas where we possibly could create new channels. So it's going to take the whole village to come up with this solution, and so that's something that we're going to continue doing even after these repairs are completed. So again, with that, I have the recommendation up here, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, Maz, when you say it's a larger problem, I get what you mean. But when you talk about looking at alternative analysis of the watershed, are you talking about the entire city's watershed? Because there is watershed north of this and probably south of this that is of concern.
Yes, there's separate watersheds within the city limits, and obviously as you go larger, they don't just follow jurisdictional boundaries, and
Right.
so obviously there's quite a bit of watersheds and sub-watersheds. As far as the Seymour, we're looking at one specific watershed for this particular project, but big picture, we are looking at, and this will be a future item that will be coming back to the council with more information. We are looking at a watershed by watershed analysis approach. There are a number of critical streams, creeks, and channels that have been impacted through flooding or erosion and incision, sediment transport. And what we're doing as part of our larger master plan work is actually taking each watershed and looking at that individually, seeing how those are impacting different land uses, properties, the highway system, how the highway system's impacted that. And so looking at understanding the bigger picture and where these issues are coming up is something that we're currently working on. So that'll be one thing that we do for Seymour, but it's not going to be the end of it. We're doing it for all of our watersheds.
Because my thinking is, if you start talking about retention of water upland, you may be talking about several different watersheds contributing to one retention pond, or, I don't know. I'm not an expert in any of it, but it would seem to me it's a coast-wide problem. It's certainly a Half Moon Bay City problem.
Yeah, I can share a little bit more on that. Generally, when we look at a watershed, you're looking at where kind of the tributary area of flow is, so where it's concentrated and how it comes together. So if we're looking at, there could be different ways. Absolutely, there could be basins that incorporate different watersheds together. There could be a series of them within each watershed. There is no one simple solution to this. It's really looking at the availability of land, the resources that we have, and how we can make it all work together.
Council, questions?
I applaud your idea that we really do need to look at the whole watershed, and not just Seymour, but Roosevelt, Kehoe. We need a comprehensive solution to the stormwater problem, and I think you're heading in that direction, and I applaud that. So thank you, Maz.
Great. I would entertain a motion then if there are no more. Oh, I'm sorry.
Public comment.
Is there public comment?
I don't show any public speakers, Mayor.
Oh, thank you. I would then entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a construction contract for the emergency Seymour outfall repair with Casadoro Construction, Inc. in the amount of $225,215, and approve an additional contingency amount of 10% of the contract award, which is $22,000, for a total emergency fund of $245,215 for the emergency repair.
Second.
May I have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Brownstone?
Yes.
Councilmember Rohrbach?
Yes.
Councilmember Reddick?
Yes.
Mayor Penrose?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Maz.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maz.
Okay. Trying to find my agenda here. Are there commission or committee updates?
Madam Mayor, we do. We had a Recreation Commission meeting last week, and John Dowdy is here to share an update on how that went.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. A brief report. First of all, we had, I think, an unbelievably good time at Summers End Bash. Thank you for for those in the community that attended. I think it was fun for all. Very good attendance. The kids area was unbelievably fun and exciting to be there. And my gosh, the lines were 40 deep for face painting. I'm going to take up face painting maybe in my retirement for fun and money, I guess, at some point there. So that was great. As a segue into one of the conversations was a update and report sort of talking about Summer's End. So that was part of our conversation, and we're likely, I think, moving forward to create a standing committee. We have an ad hoc committee, and I think we're going to create a standing committee on Summer's End and sort of those activities and memorialize that. And that's something we'll talk about in greater work. We want to thank all of the volunteers, all of the nonprofits that supported Summer's End, and particularly our Half Moon Bay Friends of Parks and Recreation, who were there all day serving beer and wine and spirits, and were in great spirits and made the day a great success. One of the other major conversations, and thank our Public Works folks for coming. We had a great community workshop on Smithfield, walk through and work through a lot of questions, comments, and status of where we are with that project. That had followed an update the prior week with the Planning Commission, so things are moving forward, and I'm sure at some point Public Works will give you a more detailed update on where we stand, but we're getting close to moving forward with a coastal development permit with the Planning Commission, hopefully this year, but maybe at the latest around the first of the year. So that were the primary issues and conversations for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other committee updates?
No, that's it tonight.
Okay, for future discussion, possible agenda items.
Just what we approved that at the next meeting, we're going to be talking about tenant protections and rent stabilization.
Yes, I think it was at a future meeting, not necessarily the next meeting, depending on when we get the background work done on it. Thanks. City Council reports. Okay.
Yeah, I attended the Peninsula Clean Energy Board meeting, and one of the things that we've done is we've increased the amount of money that's available now for multifamily EV charging stations. So those of you who live in condos or apartment houses, PCE is going to provide you with engineering and critical information and some subsidies about how you can implement multiple EV charging stations in your apartment or condo.
No, speaking of PCE, I was thinking how useful it might be to ask someone from PCE to come and give us an update on what rebates and what special deals are available for people who are willing to upgrade and increase their use of electricity over dirty fuels.
Yeah, there was a meeting at the senior center that PCE was presenting along with residents who've actually electrified their houses, and they did talk about how rebates and financing are available and how it really made a difference to them. So yeah, we can arrange that.
Okay, Councilmember Ruddock.
This would be a future agenda item. I think I mentioned this previously. I think it would be good to have somebody in from either Assemblymember Phil Ting's office or the CPUC to talk about the progressive energy billing that they're talking about in terms of, income graduated and how that might, affect people, but how it might affect rates on like solar and things like that. I think would be good to bring that before the community. So just a presentation during our proclamation and presentation item kind of thing. Yeah.
Okay, with that, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.